Greetings, fellow treasure hunters. Jacob Wile here.
Tiki here.
And welcome to Discovery in anticipation of the upcoming reboot. We here so you want to be Imagineer are dusting off the original series in this brand new vlog. It's not ponytails or cottontails. No, it's DuckTales.
A woohoo.
And tonight we have Where No Duck Has Gone Before, or as we like to call it, Duck
Ducks in
in
space. All right, Jacob, your
All
audio
right.
is kind of cutting out like a little bit here and there when you were doing that, so hopefully we're good.
All right, sorry about that.
No, it's no problem. It's no problem. So, all right, folks, that's right. We're back on track with discovering DuckTales. Really, we're trying beyond hope. We're hoping beyond hope we can get this all done before the new reboot of the show comes out, of course. That's our goal. That's our plan. Discovering DuckTales is our journey through the original run of the 100 episodes of DuckTales to kind of dissect what works about the series, what doesn't work about the series, some of the highlights, some of the lowlights. It's not necessarily going to be just like a nostalgia fest of like, oh my God, this was a great episode, even though, some of the episodes are great. And it's not just going to be like, oh my God, Webby sucks, even though, yeah, Webby does suck. We're going to try and get a little bit of a balance of both. You know what I mean, Jacob?
Yep.
So, all right. So speaking of Webby, we have no Webby in this episode, which is a plus. I'm sorry. I'm literally going to make that comment every time we don't have Webby in an episode. So we have where no duck has gone before. Jacob, what do you think of this episode?
So we don't have Webby, but we do have Doofus.
Yeah, let's talk about Doofus. This is the first time we see him, right?
Yep. No fair. I'm always the alien.
Oh man. Doofus is, I don't know. I mean, I think he's a little more tolerable than Webby, but just because he's not so much of like a token cute girl character, he is kind of like a token fat kid character though, which is almost worse. I don't know. Especially because all the jokes with him are like, Doofus is eating everything. Like he's literally like eating this horrifying alien thing, alien mucus like mule. That's
At least it tastes good.
But it's moving around.
I want to get past that. It's actually quite delicious.
Okay, Jacob, let me ask you something about in terms of the continuity of DuckTales. Doofus's last name is Drake. Is that any relation to Von Drake that you know of at all?
Now, Von Drake's actually closer related to Scrooge and Donald Duck than Doofus.
Okay, thank God, because at first I was like, oh no, Von Drake is probably so disappointed by his son. Poor Von Drake.
Nope, they're not related at all, as far as I know.
Jacob, that's another character I really am crossing my fingers we get to see in the new DuckTales as Von Drake. I think he'd fit right in, honestly.
Does appear in this series, I think, in a couple of at least one episode, but I don't know if he's going to do in the new one.
We'll see.
He
Okay.
is considered to be one of Donald's uncles, I believe.
Nice. I didn't know that actually. Okay, anyway, so with this episode, it's kind of like Scrooge by happenstance gets a hold of the what is it, the Duckburg Studios. And the Duckburg Studios is where they shoot. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he loaned some money to the local studio, and they couldn't pay him back. It's like, and let me point this out. Scrooge McDuck is the only person I know that would get upset about owning a production studio.
I know, right? Could you imagine if one of us owned a production studio and, Sandy, given what we know he's into and that's his dream and everything, and we were just nonchalant about it, oh my God, Sandy, can you believe that they just I own a production studio now? That's just crap, Sandy. Can you believe it? I have my life is crap. Oh my God.
Well, Scrooge McDuck, he wasn't that upset, obviously. I mean, that dramatization, but like, he's the only person I know that'd be upset about not getting money and instead getting an entire studio.
Yeah,
but that
it's
is
such
the
a
question.
big deal, right?
The question: how much money did he lend them for them collateral for payment? How much money did he?
I mean, it must have been a lot.
Yeah, to give him the studio in return.
Right. Okay, so we see Courage of the Cosmos. Jacob, this was one of the things that was throwing me off, like by no fault of the actual episode. It's just like we have a character named Courage.
Courage of the Cosmos.
And also we have another character in a Scottish accent referring to said character as Courage.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. It's like I know it's like very loose and like totally a coincidence, and but it was like just mildly distracting when I was watching the episode.
Courage.
Courage, right? But
Yep.
yeah, let's talk about
I never
Courage.
like
What?
I never thought of it like that.
Let's talk about Courage of the Cosmos in terms of the show. It looks like an awful production.
Yeah, it's obviously like a parody of the original Star Trek, which obviously isn't known for its groundbreaking effects at the time, but it still would be better than this. The communication array is a toaster.
Yeah, this is essentially like I don't even want to give it the the dignity of calling it public access Star Trek. It's more like a home movie version of Star Trek.
I don't understand why Scrooge was like, "You like this drivel?"
Yeah.
Scrooge has almost improved it. I mean, like Scrooge basically improved the show.
Well, he certainly made it more realistic, thanks to Gyro and his lovable misunderstandings. Oh, well, sir, you said make it real.
And Gyro sometimes takes things way too literally.
Oh yeah, but we love him for it, right?
Of course. I mean, he means well.
So this is the first episode, speaking of Gyro, that Gyro is one of the main players in. He popped up like very briefly for like a scene in the 5-parter that opens the series, but here we get kind of like an episode where he's one of the driving forces of it, and we're gonna get that even more in Armstrong, which I'm really excited to talk about. But what do you think of Gyro as a character, Jacob? Kind of like we already kind of talked through Doofus and how, whereas Doofus I don't think is quite as annoying as Webby, he's definitely got his problems, but I really like Gyro.
I mean, Gyro doesn't. I don't have a problem at all with Gyro. I mean,
No,
sure,
I don't either. I think he's a great addition to the cast.
I mean, basically, he's a walking plot device. It's like, oh, you need something mechanical and dangerous, have Gyro build it.
But you know what, though? I love his personality, though. It's like he's a genius, but he's also got kind of like that Southern hospitality charm to him.
His personality is what saves him from just like being just like a generic walking plot device.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, a lot of these characters. I mean, that's one thing. I mean, the one thing about this show, this isn't the cut on the show or the writing or anything. A lot of the characters in the show are basically walking plot devices. But what I think they do is like they use it to their advantage. Like they basically know that, but they work with their clever writing. They work well with it.
Well, one of the things I like about Gyro, as an example, is every episode, sure, he's kind of an idiot, even though he's a genius when it comes to making these inventions. He's an idiot when it comes to like some of the details, like making it real. Like he builds a real spaceship for what is actually supposed to be a TV show, and he knows it's supposed to be a TV show. Come on, Gyro.
Going the extra mile, I guess.
I guess so, but that's the thing, Jacob. That's exactly the thing why we can't be mad at him, is that he just wants to help out so bad, and he's got this charm to him that it's like Scrooge McDuck certainly doesn't have, And even Launchpad can be a bit of a hothead, whereas Gyro is very, most of the time Gyro is very, very level-headed and, very calm, and he's got that soothing voice. So I don't know. I'm sorry, folks. We just kind of taken a couple minutes out of the show to just kind of graciously christen Gyro into the overall fabric of this cast.
Yeah. Right. You know what the strange thing is, though?
What?
In this show, he's actually voiced by the same guy who voices Glomgold.
I could see that.
Yep. Hal Smith, I believe his name is. Yep. Hal Smith also voiced Glomgold. Yeah, you can't even tell.
No, but I mean, voice actors are very, very versatile in what they do, so it's not too surprising.
Yeah. Can you imagine a scene with Gyro and Glomgold?
Oh God.
He's the same voice actor talking to himself.
Do we have a voice actor for Courage, by the way?
I don't know. I couldn't tell. I thought it was like Frank Welker, but it wasn't credited in this episode.
Yeah, he wasn't credited. That was kind of bothering me. So, ooh.
I was like, I don't know if that's just someone who. I don't know if that's him or if it's somebody else. I mean, he usually is credited, but I don't know.
All right, fair enough. So let's talk about Courage. What do you think of him as kind of like the antagonist in this episode?
Well, I mean, he's not really much of an antagonist. He's just like mainly like had to get Launchpad, because he's afraid for his own job. He's afraid Launchpad's going to take his job.
You know what, Jacob? It's funny you mentioned that because I actually find Courage to be a little sympathetic.
I mean, he probably knows his show isn't that great.
That's the thing. He knows his show isn't great. He's just clamoring to keep on because he doesn't want to lose his job. And Jacob, I'm going to say something that might not be very popular, but I honestly think Launchpad is kind of a jerk in this episode. I really do.
Like, yeah, a real hero wouldn't do that.
It's like, shut up, Launchpad. The guy's just trying to make a paycheck.
And yeah, says the guy who crashes into everything.
You know what? It really bothers me, Jacob. It really does kind of deeply bother me. That is kind of like my main complaint I have about this episode is, and it's funny because I think one episode later, Launchpad has an amazing episode, and Launchpad usually is a very, very fun character. He's one of the big, tent poles of this whole series, I think, in terms of personalities. But yeah, he's just off, man. It's like Launchpad he's just having a bad week in this episode, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, like he wouldn't have a problem with this kind of thing. I mean, maybe he was just kind of jealous of him, even though it's not really pointed out.
I guess so.
Maybe he's just jealous of Captain Courage or whatever his name is.
But that's the thing, Jacob, is that in Armstrong, they do play a Launchpad McQuack gets jealous of the kids having an affection towards someone other than himself. But it's played with so much more pathos than this. And, it makes Launchpad so much more rootable than in this, where Launchpad's just kind of like, being the stick in the mud.
And the episode actually calls him out early for it.
Right.
If you notice, they actually do call him out on that. Like, you're just being a jealous jerk, basically.
He is, and I agree with them.
Yeah, me too. Like, and I don't think they ever deny that fact later. I mean, like, they only call him a real hero later after Captain Courage abandons them after realizing the show's real.
Which, fair enough, is a douche move. Oh my god.
Like, yep, abandoning children. Yeah.
No, I mean, it's like, it's even worse because it's not like he couldn't have taken 10 more seconds to let them in. They were standing like right at the, right at the hatch to the escape pod, He could have opened that escape pod. I don't know.
Even Launchpad didn't do that. I mean, sure, Launchpad's still kind of a jerk in this episode, but so I guess kind of was Captain Courage in this. So they kind of work off each other well in that sense.
Sure.
Okay. At first, when I first saw this, I thought like, oh, they're gonna get along by the end of the episode, yada yada yada, like go through that. But nope. I'm kind of glad they did, because that'd be kind of like it'd be falling back into a cliche.
At the same time, I genuinely do feel bad for Courage, though, because, like I said, he is just an actor who knows he's stuck in a shitty role and he's just trying to make a living. And what happens to him at the end? He basically becomes like a walking billboard. It's almost Shakespearean in its tragedy, Jacob.
But he also did abandon Scrooge's nephews.
Yeah, but it's still the plight of the everyman. I don't know.
But remember, Scrooge could have fired him, but no, he has a 5-year contract.
Yeah, but I almost feel like at that point Scrooge is torturing him, right? Because the guy could like try and get other acting work, but no, he's got the 5-year contract, so he has to take like the bare minimum like job that Scrooge can provide for him. I don't know. Look, all I'm saying is that Courage, I just don't think he's a bad guy at all.
Like I said, that's why I don't. That's like I said, why I don't see him as an antagonist, really.
Sure. I guess technically Bullivon is more of an antagonist, the Alien King or whatever he is.
But he's barely even in this episode.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying if you want to get someone who's like actually antagonistic towards the characters, it is him. He's barely in it, but I do think the one scene he has that's really amusing is when when Courage goes to fight him, like, and first of all, I was thinking like, oh shit, Launchpad McQuack is just gonna straight up shoot this guy like Han Solo. Like Launchpad is a badass. But you know what's awesome about that, Jacob, is even though it did end up, for the censors being like not a laser gun or anything like that, it's great that Launchpad was like willing to go there. Like Launchpad was going to kill that guy. He was not hesitating.
As evidenced by his line, "This will have to do." Like that tells you how much he cares about the kids. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. Let's see. But I also like the bit where Courage is like trying to fight Bullivon. It's great because that totally calls back to like the Shatner like cheesy fight choreography and everything like that.
Yeah, and like
he gets his arms. Yeah.
Even his overacting, him pausing in random parts of the sentence.
And then he gets his arm stuck in the alien and he's just like, "Come on, Mary, what are you making me try to look bad?" Okay.
Oh, jeez.
I guess one last part of the episode that I really want to kind of touch on is really the thing that makes Doofus like redeemable in this episode for me is I actually think Doofus and Launchpad have a really good kind of dynamic in this episode.
They do proceed to pair them off quite a bit in like even subsequent episodes.
Yeah, and I notice I'm glad you bring that up because it's kind of one of those character development things we can really track here. This is definitely the genesis of that. And
like after this, he looks up to Launchpad.
Sure. And I really think that works quite well because Doofus, like I feel like Doofus kind of switches back and forth a lot in this episode where, at first he's kind of like one of the more soft-spoken, like Huey, Dewey, and Louie are more outspoken about Launchpad being a jerk. And then at a certain point in the episode, Launchpad kind of crosses a line and Doofus is like, "Yeah, Launchpad really is a jerk." And then, but then at the end of the day, Launchpad has that scene with Doofus, and it's a really sweet scene, Jacob, where, it's nothing like overly like Pixar level, like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. But, it's nice. It's nice. It's, Doofus is just like, "Gee, Launchpad, I'm sorry I doubted you." I'm sorry. It's not
You
even...
really are a hater.
Oh, don't worry. Oh, don't worry, buddy. You were just starstruck by all that Hollywood stuff. I like that, Jacob. It's like I like how understanding Launchpad is. You know what I mean? That's one of the great qualities of Launchpad.
Well, he was like that earlier in this episode.
Sure. Yeah, I'm just saying it's a great character trait that carries on for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think that's about all I have to say for this one in particular.
Did you want to talk about like the writers and directors, though?
Yeah, I guess we could. Yeah, I'm sorry, I kind of skipped over that. So this episode was directed by David Block and written by Len Ule. I'm not sure Len Ule has written anything that we've talked about yet. You might have some stuff coming up. But David Block also directed also directed Sphinx for the Memories, which, as we said, was kind of one of the weaker episodes. And I think this is better than Sphinx for the Memories, but it's kind of in that same wheelhouse of it's good. It's nothing really earth-shattering or anything.
Like I said, still a lot of these are still steps down from the original 5-parter.
Right, and of course, which
and the 5
go ahead.
You go ahead. No,
yeah, which is going to be like, let's talk about for a second. And folks, this is kind of the first time we're tracking this, but we want to keep this going as we talk about these episodes. Let's give a big shout out to Disney Afternoon extraordinaire, director extraordinaire, Alan Zaslov, master of many Disney Afternoon cartoons. And he does some of the, like Jacob and I noticed a trend where so far, I think basically inarguably, he's directed the strongest episodes of DuckTales that we've talked about so far. He's talked about The Treasure of the Golden Suns, parts 1, 3, and 5, which, Jacob, I think it's pretty, 1 is a really good starting point. 3 is the really good kind of Donald Duck and Launchpad dynamic. And then 5 is just the straight up Indiana Jones, all this crazy stuff is happening, and it's a lot of fun. So those 3 are definitely the more memorable of the 5 parts, I think. And then he directed Send in the Clones, which was a wonderful Magica Dispel episode. And he also directed Armstrong, which we're going to talk about in just a minute, Jacob. But spoiler alert, I think Armstrong is probably the best episode of the series thus far. I really think that episode holds up quite well. So it's interesting that Alan Zaslov, so far, I think has been definitely the MVP of the show in terms of directors.
He definitely has work cut out for him.
Yeah, and we'll see. And David Block definitely has some more episodes coming up as well. So, we'll kind of track this. We'll kind of track the Zaslov episodes, the Block episodes. I also see Steve Clark has a lot of episodes coming up in the pipeline as well. So that's one of the things I definitely kind of want to talk about as we go through these things, is kind of the directors that maybe shape the show, different tones of different directors and stuff like that, and maybe see if we can get an interesting conversation out of that. All right. So, Jacob, any final thoughts on this?
No, I pretty much have to agree with everything you said. Anything I say right now would be kind of repeating a redundant point.
All right. Well, go ahead and end us out then, Jacob.
All right. Well, tonight's adventure has come to an end. But be sure to join us next time on Discovering DuckTales.
Woo! Oh, gee whiz!